Hi, everyone. This is Pinar. I'm the CEO of Timus Networks. And today I have Jim Smith with me, the CEO of ProperSky and one of the really beloved Timus partners. Hi, Jim. How are you?
Hey, Pino, how are you doing? Good.
Good,
Good.
good. So, Jim, I know that this has been a really amazing start to the year for you guys, right? So you've been doing really well with new clients, new excitement.
It has been. So yeah, we were kind of talking a little bit before the call. Like it's exciting. So I think one of the struggles you always hear from MSPs is how chasing the MRR and getting new clients is always a challenge. And we set a pretty ambitious target, and we're probably 40% of the way through after we're not even done the first month yet. So I think we're gonna have to kind of adjust the targets if we keep growing the rate we're growing. So good problems to have, right?
I mean that is amazing. That really shows you how strong the market is, right? For the right vendor. Because so actually, this brings me to my next question. So I have friends who ask me, "Pinar, you keep talking about MSP on LinkedIn. Like, what the heck is an MSP? What is a managed service provider? Why is it needed?" And I'm also curious, how do you get started on becoming an MSP? Like, what was your journey like?
So it's interesting. So I was always kind of entrepreneurial, right? So even when I was a kid, like when I was in seventh grade, I picked up a paper route, right? It had 17 houses on it. By the time I quit it when I was like 13 or 14, I had 153. So
Wow.
I was making $300 a week, and my mom and dad were like, this was in the 90s, I guess, right? I had the biggest baseball card this side of the Atlantic. I wasted all my money on 1990 Donruss cards, but so that's always been kind of part of who I am. I feel like I kind of enjoyed that. I went to Drexel and I ended up taking an entrepreneurial studies class, and I hooked up with a guy that was starting a new venture, and I was probably 19. I gave him this litany of things that I wanted. I wanted a car and a secretary in my own office space, and they gave it all to me. I couldn't believe it. So we started the business, and it failed catastrophically, right? So and at that point, I'd been going to school part-time, working full-time, and I kind of saw the writing on the wall, and I was like, man, I'm going to be working for the rest of my life. I want to go see the world. So I sold all my stuff, joined the Peace Corps. I don't know if you know what the Peace Corps is or not, but it's like yeah. So I went and I sold everything I had and went and moved to the South Pacific. I lived there for 2 years. And I was like, this is great. I'll go live in a hut and I'll sell coconuts, and it'll be nice and easy. So it turns out that they figured I was pretty good at IT, and they put me in charge of the largest college in the country. So I went from like a system administrator for a small 20-person company to 450 kids with no budget. And it's there I really sort of cut my teeth on, like, how to do a lot with a little, and then helping good organizations, right? So I was really inspired when I was there. Like, I meet these NGOs and these small businesses, and I just kept fixing stuff that was so obvious. And I'm like, man, I can make a living doing this when I get back to the States. And so that's what I did. I flew back to the States after my 2-year stint. I lived on my buddy's couch for about 3 months. I wrote a little script that read Craigslist, and the first response I got on Craigslist was he was starting it was a Nigerian arts collective, right? So I show up to his house. He's running an Ubuntu server in his basement, and I fixed it. I got it working. And then he's like, listen, I'm starting a company buying dermatology practices. Do you want to be part of it? And I was like, yeah. It's like, I need somebody to build a data center. Can you do that? And I was like, yeah. And it was a lie. I couldn't do any of those things, but I figured it out. So so that company grew from PNR grew from 4 providers and 4 offices to 70 providers and 60 offices over six years. And so I grew from a team of 1 to a team of 11, as a 25-year-old kid. So
Yeah.
it was great. I mean, for me, it was an awesome experience. But that's how I got into it, right? So that's what MSPs are.
That's
It's what I
amazing.
would do.
And it's similar with me that this type of successes when you're young, it really gives you a certain type of confidence, right? Even if you don't know how it's going to be done right now, you still know that you can do it. You get this can-do attitude. I mean, obviously some of that is innate, but some of them is learned through experiences that you just described. You're like, heck with it, I'll go figure it out. And then you see the success that it's possible, like with the great hard work, of course. But
I
amazing.
think that's it. So it's the risk taking, right? So like, and I have some younger kids that work for me too, and we go over this all the time. It's like, look, it's better to try and fail than to do nothing at all and wait for your boss to come tell you to do the work, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's just, like, time is your most valuable commodity, and I think a lot of kids just don't understand this. And I do now that I'm older. And really, what it is taking a little bit of calculated risk and trying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that's the famous Roosevelt said, right? Be in the arena instead of be in the audience and looking at people and critiquing. But if you're in the arena, you're not bored. Yeah, sometimes you're going to fail, but at least you're playing the field and this blood, sweat, and tears, but you're having fun. No,
Yeah.
absolutely. And then it shows now with your current MSP. You know, I know that last year you guys won the Soaring Star Award in IT Nation Evolve community for the fastest growing MSP in that community. And I can only imagine, you know, like Evolve is one of the most sophisticated groups out there with a lot of larger MSPs. Like, how did you do that? How did you make it happen?
So the answer is I didn't. My team did, right? So I think a big part of what I realized, like we had one customer. So this is a big mistake. Every MSP does this, right? You get one customer and you get kind of complacent. So I had one customer that made up 40% of my revenue. They called me up out of the blue when the CEOs changed and said, "Hey, we want to get an RFP, which is code for you're going to be fired in slow motion." So I was like, "Okay." So I was like, "Man, I need to start getting up sales." So my first instinct was hire a sales guy, right? And so I went and I did, and I took a risk on somebody that had some experience. I think every MSP tries this. I think owners don't necessarily like sales guys, but in this particular situation, I lucked out. He was a really good guy, and what he really opened my eyes to is that we've had a ton of leads. I just didn't have time to close them, right? And so that was the whole thing. Like you forget how long it takes to build a relationship with human beings, because this is MSPs is an industry of trust, right? So,
Yeah.
we're all selling similar products. I might have a different router. The customers don't care about that. What they want to know is that when I talk to this guy, he's going to be the person that I talk to get the work done. And I need to trust that they're going to do the work that they promise. And I feel like establishing that relationship takes a bit of time. And so I think that was number one. Sales guy was a big part of that. I think the second thing is doubling down on our marketing efforts. So we hired many firms outside. We tried different places, content, et cetera. And I remember talking to somebody, I don't know who it was in an Evolve Nation meeting. And he's like, man, he's like, your website is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It never shuts down. It doesn't go home. It doesn't get tired. It doesn't get hungry. You should spend a lot of money and time fixing your website before you hire a sales guy. And I agreed with that, right? And then we were also talking about this a little bit earlier, right? So great, the product's built, the stack is ready to go. Now I need to market it, right? I need to tell people about it, right? And I think, that was a big difference. We hired a guy named Dan. He's been working on our social and blogging, and we have a strategy that we find works for us. We get a lot of cold inbound leads that work. Then the third/fourth thing here is getting out of my leadership team's way. So I think, when you're in a 10-person company, you can dabble your fingers in a lot of pie. And I think what you realize is you got to hire good people and let them run with it, right? And I think I'm still not great at this, but I think getting out of the way more and more often and letting these guys make their decisions and execute has just really led the way for growth, for us anyway.
Now, this is so amazing to hear because obviously, as Timus too, we are a high growth startup ourselves, and some of what you're talking about is something absolutely that resonates, right? How do you reach out to the customers, and how do you generate revenue and achieve that growth? And this, I guess, is related to the question that I was going to ask you afterwards. How do you attract new clients? So do you do a lot of nurturing emails, or how do you approach that?
So it's interesting. So we split. We get 55% of our new leads through marketing efforts, right? And so what we found is that buyers are more sophisticated now than they have been in the past, right? So if somebody's doing a search for managed IT services, they are so far down in the buying cycle, they know exactly what they want, right? And so now they're the piece of the pie where they're comparing different organizations and going through the checklist and stuff like that. So we spent a lot of time building organic content in and around that particular structure, right? So people that are further down in the funnel, and we spent a lot of time doing that organically. The other thing that happened is, building a business is compound interest, right? And so like these little relationships that I would make with the person here, or I'd go to a party there, or we'd get dinner or get lunch, they start to stack up, and so I have a lot of really good friends that I trust and love, and those people think I'll do a good job for their friends, right? And so, now that I'm in my mid 40s, the sort of investment in friends and socializing really it generates net new leads, right? So
Yeah.
I get, calls from people that need help, and I'm the guy. So
Yeah, word of mouth. If you're doing a good job, even for us, right? We have MSP partners that refer us to their other MSP partners because they love the product, they love the support. And I know that you're also one of them who speak kindly of our solution out there. And then, okay, so this brings me to my last question, because I like asking this to everyone. Obviously, I'm the CEO of Timus Networks, and you're a Timus partner. How did you end up choosing us, and what is one of the things that you like about us as a vendor?
there's a lot. So honestly, like, Pinar, your organization is fantastic. Well, I think one of the things that you see in the startups, there's generally two methods of startups that we see from our perspective, right? So there's the one that's chasing the PE money, and then there's the one that's building the better product, right? And so it's really easy to differentiate those when you start digging into the quality of the product, right? So if you want to show me a sales presentation, I'm probably not interested in your product, right? So like for me, the product needs to sell itself. I'm a technical buyer. I'm buying on features. I'm buying on functions. I'm buying on support. I'm buying on a number of things, and none of that is going to be in the presentation that I really care to see, right? So all that stuff, I think you guys are definitely a product-driven startup. And one of my absolute favorite thing about you guys, this was awesome. So I reached out to Jared. Jared was like, "Hey man, we need to have a meetup call, do a check-in." I said, "Jared, I'm busy." And I said, "Look, the big thing I really need from you guys right now is I need the auto start function to work. And we want to run under non-admin capacity." He's like, "Jim, auto startup's already in. It's baked in as of last week." And he's like, "And your thing is on the roadmap." And I was like, "Awesome." Because if you solve this problem for me, you're going to solve it for all the other MSPs. And I think that's really what it comes down to, right?
Yeah.
So like listening to your audience and making the changes and building a better mousetrap.
Yeah. And now that product is already live, as you know.
It is. It's awesome. Actually, we just turned it on. So you and I were talking about the DNS, stuff. I'm excited. So it's just one other way to sort of add value, because it's another box to check that really I think is going to function well for us.
Yeah. And so, my background is in electrical engineering itself, right? So I'm actually originally from Turkey, but I came to the US for grad school for PhD actually in electrical engineering long time ago. Then I moved to the business side of it from after master's. But I'm also very interested in the product, like what we are doing, right? At a technical level, not necessarily maybe other CEOs or the executives have. And I truly believe that we are building something special, because I hear all the feedback from our partners and their end users that we were able to hide all that complexity behind this simple to use UI with features that the partners really care about. Because like this whole thing was built from the ground up to support MSPs ultimately, and of course protect the clients.
Yeah, I mean, it's beautifully designed. So, like, and I think I mentioned this in the interview, but like, it's, there's 2 tabs, 3 places, 3 options that I can click as an end user. And then, that's all I need my end users to know how to do. I don't want them, less is more, right? So, but then you flip that around, you log into the admin console, like, Colin was working with your engineers here because we have sophisticated AWS infrastructure. And so they worked through all these sort of access control lists that we had for our different user groups and stuff like that. And it was like, it's amazing how flexible and functional the product is from an administrative perspective in the back end. It's so deceiving when you look at it in the front. So I think it's well designed. I mean, it's a great product. So
yeah, our CTO will love to hear that feedback. And I think he already knows, but it's always great to hear when there's another stamp of approval from the partner itself to how well it's designed. So thanks so much, Jim. I mean, this was amazing, and I think it was so insightful. The couple of the bullet points that you mentioned on how you achieve success, right? And because it's not rocket science, but a lot of people don't do it. Like get your sales in order, marketing, and be able to delegate as an executive.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I love Sharon. Thanks for asking me. I really, I suffer imposter syndrome a little bit sometimes, but, I think I'm at the point in my life now where I realize that I'm good at what I do, right? And so I need to stop apologizing for it and just do it, right? Same as you, right? So,
all right, Jim, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you,
Well, I'll see you in the road soon. Bye-bye.
Sounds good. All right, take care.